guys, welcome back to another video, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Ellie, and today I'm going to be talking through my favourite lino printing supplies with you guys and just letting you know what I've been really enjoying using at the moment. So I don't think I've done a video quite like this before. I've done my lino printing essentials, I think, and I always talk about the supplies that I use, but I thought it would be really fun to do like my favourite lino printing supplies just at the moment, because I've got some things I've really been loving at the moment and I think they're slightly different to ones that I've mentioned in other videos, and I just want to make it super easy for you guys to see where I get all my supplies from and see the kind of things that I use when I'm lino printing. So I will leave everything linked down below if I can find it. Obviously some things I can't find or whatever, but I'll try and link everything down below, or I'll link similar things as well. So I'm just gonna get straight into it, and the first thing that, honestly, this has been one of my favorites for such a long time and I don't think it will change, but my first favorite is the SD Grey Lino. I use this for the majority of my lino prints. It works really well in my printing press, which is the X-Cut Express, and I just really like it. I think it carves really well with my lino tools and everything, and it's just a firm favourite for me. I just really like how my lino prints turn out when I use this lino. I find it works better for me and in my printing press than using softer surfaces or like stamp rubber. I do also really like the Speedball Speedy Carve, the pink stamp rubber. I'll put a picture of it up on the screen, but at the moment I have like predominantly just been carving on the Grey Lino and making prints that can go through my printing press, just because that's what I've been wanting to do at the moment. I haven't been doing as much hand printing, and I do find this really hard to hand print, but it works perfectly in my printing press. So this is the SD Grey Lino. You can buy it on Amazon and you can also get it from Cass Art, and so many smaller like little independent shops do sell it as well. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites and I feel like it will be forever, to be honest. Something else which is still one of my favorites is the Cranfield Safe Wash Relief Ink. I buy this from Hand Printed UK, but you can also get it on Amazon and places like that. This is definitely my favourite ink, and my favourite is the black. This is the one that I use the majority of times. Like, most of my prints are black. I'll occasionally use the Prussian blue and I'll mix it with the opaque white to create a lighter blue, but this one is definitely my favourite and it's such a staple. It's always my go-to. If I'm doing a test print or anything, I'll generally print it in black, and this is just the basic black. They do have a couple of other kind of colours of black, I don't know exactly what they're called, but this is oil based and it's washable, so it's definitely my favourite ink because it's super easy to clean up. Like, it's not as easy to clean up as water based ink, but it's definitely not as difficult to clean up as just like completely oil-based ink that isn't washable with water. Whereas this one, it's because it's called the Safe Wash ink, you can just wash it up with soap and water, and it's really easy to wash up. It did take me a while to get the hang of washing it up and cleaning it off my rollers and things, but now it's just super easy, and the black is definitely the easiest to clean. I'm going to show you some rollers in a minute and they still have like blue ink on them. And I just can't get it off, but the black is definitely my favourite. It's the easiest to clean. It prints really well. I honestly get through so many tubes of this. Like, this is my tube at the moment, and to be fair, it does last me a really long time. So in a year I've had 2 tubes of this, so it lasts a really long time and it's really good. I print with this regularly, like once a week or something, and it just lasts really well. I've still got loads left in this tube, which I'm really like grateful for, and I'll definitely be buying it again in the future. I do want to try out a couple of other inks and maybe try out a more expensive water-based ink and things, but at the moment I'm just really happy with how my prints come out when I use the Cranfield Safe Wash Relief Ink. I really like Cranfield as a brand, and in the future when I don't live in like a rented flat, I think I want to try out some of their oil-based inks that you can clean up with like vegetable oil and things. It's just, I can't use those at the moment because I'm scared I'm gonna like make a massive mess in my flat and things. So this is definitely my go-to just because it's super easy to clean up. It wipes off everything, and I did even once spill some of this on my carpet and I managed to get it out, which is such a relief. So I would definitely recommend this to anyone. even if you're like just starting out with oil-based inks, it's really easy to get to grips with and things. Yeah, I just love it so much, in case you can't tell. Another ink that I have also been loving at the moment are these tiny little ink pads. So these ones are the Versacraft ink pads. I have them in several colours. I really like them. I think that they work super well if you're printing something small or you're just using like a bit of stamp rubber to print something. Just because they're teeny tiny, you don't have to roll the ink out. They're like so much less messy. They're really easy to just wipe off of a table if you get it on the table, kind of thing. You don't have to wash a roller or a palette at the end of it. And they're just really good for using on little stamps and things. So I have them in, obviously I've got orange and blue. I also have black, and they do like metallic colours as well. So you can get like gold, silver, copper kind of colours, and they're really nice for adding accents onto like Christmas cards and things, or if you just fancy some sparkles. Yeah, I really like those as well. Ink pads are just so useful for everything. I use ink pads to print my little business cards and things, so I would definitely recommend those as well. And if you are just trying out lino printing, I would maybe suggest getting just a black ink pad rather than investing in like a roller and ink and like a palette to roll out in. It's just so much easier just to have the little ink pad, and you can just like press it onto the lino and then stamp the piece of paper. It just works really well as well. So I've been really enjoying like experimenting with these at the moment and using them to print my business cards, just because it's like so much more mess free and there's no like messy cleanup at the end. So I would really recommend trying these out as well. I've been really enjoying using these at the moment. Another ink that is like a staple for me is the Speedball block printing fabric ink. I've been using this for over a year now, and I really like it. I always get so many questions over on Instagram asking me what kind of ink I use for fabric printing. Well, this is the ink that I use. So it's just called the Speedball Fabric Block Printing Ink, and this one is in opaque white, but I have it in so many colours. I've got it in blue and in turquoise. I think the turquoise is definitely my favourite colour, and I also use the white to add to the other colours just to get like more of a pastel tone. This is honestly the best ink that I've found for printing on fabric. It just works really well. You don't have to heat set the ink or anything. And I had someone DM me the other day asking me how long the ink takes to dry. It does take quite a long time to dry. I found it takes between like 3 and 5 days to fully dry. But I do live in the UK and it is like a colder climate. And in the summer it dries quicker, obviously because it's in like a warmer room. But just to be sure, I like to give it a full week to dry, just to make sure that I'm not going to smudge the ink or anything, because if it isn't properly dry and you try and fold it up or move it or wear it or something, the ink will smudge a little bit. But it's really good because you don't have to heat set it at all. Like once you've printed, it's washable up to like 40 degrees or something. It's just really good, and it definitely stays on the fabric. I have a couple of t-shirts that I've printed and I've washed them over and over again, and the print still looks the same. The black ink is still really black. So yeah, I think I'm gonna like obviously continue to use this into the future. It just gives like a really good coverage of ink on the fabric, because sometimes I found that's a bit tricky in the past, is like getting a proper coverage of ink. I'm so sorry about the people like shouting outside. Sometimes it's difficult to get a full coverage of ink on fabric, particularly if it's like a really textured fabric or something. But this works the best for me. I can't recommend this enough, and it's still a firm favourite of mine. And if I am fabric printing, I always reach for this ink over any other kind of ink. I know some people do also print on fabric using the Cranfield oil-based inks, and they do look really nice. I haven't experimented with that myself, so I can't really comment on it, but I think it is something that I will look into in the future. But for the moment, I just really like this ink. I also use this ink with the fabric ink roller, I think that's what it's called. It's from SD, and it's the fabric printing roller, and it's so much more spongy. But this brings me on to like the next thing, because at the moment I haven't really been using that as much, especially for fabric printing and even normal printing. I've been finding that the Speedball, sorry that it's so dirty as well, I did try and clean it, but I've been finding that the Speedball soft rubber roller does a better job at the moment. And the other thing with the fabric roller is it's really hard to clean, because the roller is super spongy and it soaks up so much of the ink. So I've been finding this has been so much better. Sorry, I know it looks really gross, but this has been so much better for both fabric printing and normal printing, especially for fabric printing because it like doesn't soak up as much of the ink. You can get more ink onto the lino, I found anyways. So I've been leaning towards using this more for fabric printing. I've also been leaning more towards using this for normal printing. I've just been really enjoying because it's a much softer roller than any of my others. Like in the past I've mentioned this, another dirty roller. In the past I've mentioned that I've used this quite a lot for like printing on paper and using on lino and things. And this is a Japanese hard rubber roller. I do really like it, but at the moment I have just been preferring this Speedball one. I don't know why, one day I just decided I was going to use the Speedball roller, and I found that it actually applies ink onto the lino so much better, particularly for some of my older lino blocks that I have, because some of them are quite old now. They're like over a year old and they've just been like super overworked and overused. So the softer rubber on this roller is a bit more kind of gentle on the lino, I think, and it just gives me a better coverage of ink, a better coat of ink on the lino, I found anyway at the moment, which is really weird and I don't know exactly why. But that one is a soft rubber roller, and then this one is a Japanese hard rubber roller. It's not super hard, it's not as hard as one of the SD red rollers. I'll put a picture on the screen, I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, so at the moment I'm not tending to reach for this one as much, and I know in my past couple of videos I have said that this is the roller that I swear by, but at the moment it's definitely more this Speedball one. I'm just really liking it. It's also smaller, like the roller itself is a bit smaller, which is nice, and I just find that it gives me a better coverage of ink. And this brings me on to my last couple of things that I just want to show you guys that are my favourites at the moment, and I feel like the first one will come as no surprise, even the second one to be honest. But this is the Cardi paper. It's handmade recycled cotton rag paper, and I love it so much. I just think the prints look really nice on this. It goes through my press really well and it picks up ink really well as well. I do find it's not as good for hand printing, so if you are hand printing, because it's a really thick textured paper, it's quite difficult to get a clean even hand print. But when I put it through my X-Cut Express, which is what I use in my printing press, it works really well, and the paper picks up detail really well and it takes the ink really well as well. So this is still like a firm favourite. Of mine, and I don't think it will be going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, a couple of videos ago I think I did say that I wanted to like transfer the majority of my prints over onto Cardi paper just because I prefer the look of them so much. But I have actually had like a little bit of a change of heart, because I originally was using the Sea White recycled cups paper, which I do still really like, still in my favourites. But when I started using the Cardi paper, I got like a little bit disheartened at how the prints looked on this paper. But since then I've had kind of like, I've done like a bit of a 180 and I'm back to really liking this paper. I think it's really beautiful because it's kind of like speckled because it is made of recycled cups. It's not pure white or anything, and I just think it looks really nice. It's really thin paper as well, so it is good for hand printing. I would probably recommend something like this if you are hand printing, or a lock-to paper, because this is, I'm not sure how thick it is exactly, it doesn't say, or maybe I'm just not seeing it, but I don't know like the GSM of this or anything, but it is a really thin paper. I don't have very much left actually, because I use it quite a lot, but this is really good for hand printing. I also use this for all of my test prints and things, just so that I'm not wasting the Cardi paper, because it is really expensive. And something that's really important to me is both of these papers are recycled, which is something that I look for in a paper. I don't want to be buying brand new paper. I like to buy recycled paper and use that for all of my prints. So all of my prints are on recycled paper, just because that's really important to me. And these two are definitely my favourite recycled papers that I found. I did buy a much thicker recycled paper from Amazon, but it's not my favourite. I don't find it goes through the press as well, and sometimes the lino does tend to slip around a bit or smudge just because the paper is really thick, so peeling it off isn't very easy and it tends to like spring off of the lino and create smudge marks and things. That probably makes no sense whatsoever, but these papers are definitely my favourites. So those are just some things that I have been loving at the moment for lino printing, like my favourite lino printing supplies and things, and my like go-to everyday printing supplies. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it was helpful. Please let me know if you've got any questions about any of the supplies that I talked about. As I said earlier, I will leave everything linked down below in case you want to get anything or have a look at anything. And I did just want to say, these are my favourite at the moment, but it probably will change in the future, and I have done quite a lot of experimentation to find out which supplies work best for me, and experimentation is always the best way to find out what works well for you and what will help you create the kind of lino prints that you want to make. And yeah, so I'm always up for experimenting, trying new things. I really want to do a couple of videos where I try out some different kinds of lino and things. So let me know if that is something that you would like to see. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.